What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Taylor Hinton Speaks His Mind, the number one online health and fitness podcast in the entire world. Now, I know that may sound a little bit facetious here, and I think I'm using that word correctly, but I believe in speaking things out into the world and making them real. Never really thought much about that before. I thought it was all pretty hippy dippy in the past, but since a couple of years ago, and I'll sidebar us real quick to get started, and then we'll get on topic for Mindset Monday. Starting a couple of years ago, I was inspired to create a vision board, and I was cringing the entire time that I did it. And I thought it was so lame. I'm like, my God, what am I doing here? This is stupid. This is ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. And I ended up making that vision board, and I followed through with the process that I had interpreted from somebody that I was, inspired by doing this. And it came to fruition. Like everything kind of worked out the way that I wanted it to, and I thought that was really cool. So since then, I think a huge component for me with my health and fitness, with my business, with my goals in general, relationships in life, is having a very clear, vision, and setting out actionable steps that I can take for myself so that I can realize that vision. I think the biggest difference between goals and dreams is that goals have actionable steps and dreams are just a thought. So dreams are nice. I like dreaming, like literally when I sleep. But when it comes to making those dreams a reality, we need to be very clear and specific about our timeline to achieve those goals or dreams. And those goals also need to be measurable themselves. So when we did our vision board party yesterday, which I will send out the link to the recording for you guys all today as well, text messages to get those out to you. But it is already uploaded, by the way, inside of the resource section. So if you were to go to resources and then live trainings, you'll be able to find it in there, Vision Board Party 2026. And then you can use that as your template to create your own vision board. Would love to be able to hear some of the wins and the takeaways that you have from that too. Let's talk today about being intentional with your efforts. So I have my notes here. I just had a bit of a pause mentally on where I'm at with things, but this conversation that I want to share with you guys, this Mindset Monday that I want to share with you guys, is inspired by more than one conversation that I've had with many of you over the past, I don't know, I guess since I got started, 3 years. When I first started as an online health and fitness coach, I thought that the biggest part of my job was to teach people macros and to give them workouts. I thought that that was what my job was. And I was so wrong. Yes, of course, that is a massive element to objectively achieving the goals that you have in mind for yourself. And when we don't know those things, we need to learn and have that skill of how to track and pushing ourselves hard. Those are, again, foundational things you cannot ignore. But the majority of the work that I do with you guys is the mindset, the intentions behind what you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing, and being held accountable personally, not just by myself, but by yourself to get the goals that you want. Because once you learn, like, here's the reality of it, and you guys probably already figured this out at this point. It's not like a big secret that I hide or anything. The shit that I tell you and teach you isn't crazy, high-level, complicated shit. We're not professional athletes. We're not Olympians. We're not in the top 1% or 0.5% of the world in terms of athletic fitness. I'm not. I don't consider myself in that place. I teach you and give you the tools that I implement. I'm not gatekeeping anything. Everything that I give you is the things that I implement and only those things. We don't need to go crazy high level to get high level results. We need to go high level with our effort and consistency on the basic foundation stuff. That's how we get high level results. Anything above and beyond that is like professional athlete styled levels of commitment and training. And unless any one of you hasn't told me yet that you either are or want to be a professional athlete, we're all in the same boat here. When it comes to you being fit and healthy, one of the biggest problems that I have found, and this is like, if there's one thing that I could call out between the clients that I've worked with that have had massive success and the clients that I've worked with who have eventually fizzled out, and no matter how hard I try to reach out and desperately get them to start investing in themselves, not just with their financial resources, but with their time and their energy, the biggest difference between the people who do it and they get the results and the people who don't is the intention behind the actions that they have. It's not just learning the shit, because you can figure that out online by yourself. If you spent a couple days just like hunkering down, you could learn a lot of the stuff that I teach you. It's pretty well available online anywhere you go, ChatGPT, whatever, Google it up. It's very easy to find these things, but it's the implementation and then how you think about your process and how you stick to your process. Not just day in and week in, it's the months and the years of how are you implementing this and what kind of changes are you making in your life. Those are the things that you are not getting from ChatGPT and Google. It's that every single day, that mental process of, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing enough? Am I doing too much? Should I be expecting better results? All of those clouded, confusing questions that stall you out and make you essentially paralyzed in your process, that's the shit that I'm here to clear up for you. And I'm going to tell you right now that the number one problem that the people who have, the difference between the people who get what they want and the people who stay exactly where they're at and stay frustrated is the intentions behind the process. And I know this because I see it happening firsthand. It's so mind blowing. It sounds really hippy dippy, right? To say that there's two people who are both tracking their food and they're both working out consistently, getting their steps in, seemingly doing all the right things. But one person is proactively taking care of these things and making it a priority in their day every single day. And the other person is just barely getting it done by the end of the day. It's the last thought. It's the thing that it's actually probably the first thought that they have all day long. And then they think about it and dwell on it and dread it all day long. And then they eventually get it done. Again, these two people both work out consistently. They don't miss workouts. They track their food every day. They hit their steps. They both do their check-ins. One person gets their check-in done first thing in the morning. The other person gets it done late every single time. One person pre-tracks their breakfast and lunch for multiple days in advance and leaves themselves a little bit of flexibility for dinner and snacks so that they can get creative with their food. The other person, when they're going to bed at like 10 or 11 p.m., which is later than they need, and they know that, and they're not getting enough sleep, they're then haphazardly getting in MyFitnessPal and randomly tracking what they think they ate earlier in the day, forgetting the snacks, forgetting the sip of their kids' juice, forgetting that they had 200 grams of rice rather than 180. They're missing so many pieces because at the end of the day is when they're tracking it. They're not proactively doing it and having everything ready in the fridge. They're both working out. They're both doing, let's imagine, they're both doing the same workouts or same relative level of intensity for their workouts. One individual is taking care of it at the earliest moment that they can, which I understand is not always first thing in the day for everybody. Some of you have kids that are really young. They need your attention. Maybe you don't have a partner that's able to, be there for them first thing in the morning because either one, you're by yourself, or two, your partner is leaving at like 3 in the morning to go do some blue collar work. I get it. But the earliest moment that you have available to do your workout, earliest moment, and you got to be really honest with yourself. Because if the earliest moment for you in your head is 7 p.m., but you're working a 9 to 5 and you don't have kids, or your kids are old enough that you could leave the house in the morning for 6 a.m. to get a workout in, you're lying to yourself when you say that at 7 p.m. is the earliest time. That's the earliest time that you feel like it. The genuine, actual earliest time. Forget how you feel, right? What is the earliest time that you can make it happen? That's when you should be going to the gym. I used to be really just open to that. For a very long time, I used to just give a lot of people the freedom to just be like, hey, as long as you get your workout done, it's not a big deal. But it is a big deal because it's beyond just the tracking. It's beyond just the measurable things that I can see on the screen. It's how you're intending to take care of your fitness every single day. Because the person who gets up and gets it done at 4 in the morning, like Jasmine does all the time, versus the person who's waiting until 7, 8, 9 p.m. and barely squeaking it out when they're dreading it, they're tired, they're unmotivated. And maybe even God forbid, I don't know, but maybe even having caffeine that late and then trying to go to bed afterwards. There's no way the person who's working out at 7 p.m., who's having caffeine, who's doing just barely enough to check the box for their fitness, is going to get as far or be able to maintain the results for as long as the person who's getting up at 4 a.m. and taking care of it before anyone else is awake. Imagine the difference in how you feel. And you probably already know this. You're either on one side or the other with what I'm talking about right now. Some of you are going, oh my God, I'm so thankful that I am on the right side of this because I 100% am locked in and I'm doing great and I feel awesome. And the other side, for some of you, might want to just end this call right now because you're like, oh God, this is so painful to hear because he's speaking right to me. But you know that you have to stick here and listen to this and go through this pain, because if you don't, if you keep burying your head in the sand and trying to comfort yourself in the moment, even though you're feeling really, really uncomfortable, you're not going to make any, you're going to stay right where you are. So lean into this pain for a second. Stay with me here as I say this. The person who's getting up, think about this. Just like for a second, if you can, close your eyes and just imagine the difference between these two people. One person wakes up at 3:30 in the morning, tired but motivated, has some coffee or pre-workout and maybe a banana, and heads straight to the gym before anyone else in the house is up. They get to the gym early, it's cold and it's dark outside, they scan their code to get in because it's a 24-hour gym, and they're willing to spend a little bit more money to go to a 5 to 10 minute, a gym that's 5 to 10 minutes further away from their house so that they can get that workout done first thing in the morning. Initially, it was a painful experience to do that. They don't want to have to pay the extra 20 to 40 bucks a month. It sounds like it's like, why would I pay more? And it's further away, so now I have to do more driving. I have to get up earlier than I want to. There's always a reason why you shouldn't do the thing that's hard. There's always a good justification, obviously, because most people use that. Most people don't do it because they're comparing the things that they want to have versus the things that they hate. And pain is stronger than love. It is. It just is. Unfortunately, I wish that it wasn't that way, but the reality is pain is stronger than love. Love is the goals that you have in the future, and pain is all the stuff that you want to avoid right now. But if you lean into the pain, you say, I choose pain today so that I can have love tomorrow. Again, love, not a relationship, not talking about relationships here, talking about the goals and dreams that you have in the future. If you choose pain now, get up early, drive a little bit further away, it's cold, it's dark, you want to sleep, get it done. All of those things I just mentioned, all that pain that I just talked about, pain is an emotion. It's just the way that you feel. It's not real. So just do it. Because the person who accepts that and says, I understand this is just pain, I can deal with pain. I've done harder things, and I anticipate that there will be harder things in my life that I have to deal with down the road. At some point, I choose pain now so that 1, I can get the goals that I want, but 2, I'm more resilient against the things that inevitably are going to suck down the road. There are catastrophic, traumatic things that happen to people every single day that they had no control over and had no idea were going to happen. It just, boom, lands in their lap, and all of a sudden their life has changed forever. It's likely that that's something that we're all going to experience. It's to bet on that the rest of your life is going to be silky smooth and easygoing, and that all the hardest things that you've dealt with are in your past, even if they're really hard. Like, there are some people who may not be on this call right now. I'm not even looking at you guys right now. There may be some people who are listening to this who are like, Taylor, you know my situation. I've gone through fucking hell and back twice. I get it. I hear you. I am not here to diminish that, but I am to empower you to be even stronger. Imagine that's not even the hardest thing you've gone through yet. Maybe it is, and maybe it will be forever. But imagine it isn't, just for a second. Okay? Wouldn't you be better off deciding to choose pain now and becoming a more resilient human being with the expectation that eventually something pretty shitty is going to happen down the road again? Something really painful, something really traumatic. Wouldn't it be better to choose pain now so that you're more resilient for that later, mentally, physically, and emotionally? That's how I see things. I'm sharing with you, not some like inspirational thing. This is actually just a heads up. Haven't even touched on the notes that I wanted to get to. This is just the thoughts and feelings that I have personally, and this is what motivates me to do the things that I want to do with my fitness. I choose pain now because pain is going to come again eventually, and I want to be best prepared for that when it does happen. And I also want to build the dream life that I have and all the goals that I have set for myself. So it's a no-brainer for me to get up a little bit earlier and do the workout earlier, whatever it is. My workouts, just as a heads up, my whole situation is I do my workouts in the afternoon, but I take care of my pain is doing the hard work in my business that I don't like doing. That's the first thing that I do. After, doing my little morning routine, which I believe that we all should, and we can talk about that on another day. I think a really important factor with your fitness, as I'm getting my phone set up here again properly, is taking care of pain early. Okay? So take care of your pain early, get it out of the way. The people who are getting it done first thing, so back to this whole vision of this person, they're getting to the gym, it's cold, it's dark, they get their workout done, they're walking in the gym and taking their jacket off and going to do the workout itself, like before you get warm, that's the worst part. Like you get in the gym and you're like, oh my God, I got this whole fucking workout. Taylor has me doing squats. I'm super tired. I'm still sore from fucking that hike I did on the weekend or whatever. I didn't get enough sleep. And all that, again, is pain. It's all just pain that's trying to convince you to do the easy, comfortable thing. Your brain is designed, like primally, to give you the path of least resistance in everything that you do. And that was really, really helpful when we were cavemen because everything in life was really, really hard. Every single day, you were likely to die. And now things are really, really fucking easy. So you have to try to find that pain. You have to lean into it. Your brain is telling you, no, I know that it's hard, but you have to rewire it to be like, pain is good. I want pain because it's going to help me move further in my life, right? Obviously, there's degrees to this. They get to the gym, they do their warm-up, and now we're feeling good, okay? 45 minutes later, which is about as much time as a lot of people scroll, one time a day. People normally scroll multiple times a day. But how easy is it to scroll for like 10 minutes? Okay, that times 4. That happens all the time. You can put that time and energy into your workout. So that person gets their workout done. It's like fucking 5 a.m., 5:30 in the morning. That workout is done. It's over with. And now they have energy and they're excited for the rest of the day. They're not dreading having to do this really tough workout at the end of the day. You don't know what the rest of your day is going to look like. That's why it's like, why would you risk doing your workout later? If you have the capacity and the ability we all have the capacity. If you have the ability to do your workout before the day starts, then the rest of your day is easier because you took care of the hardest part first thing in the day. Have you thought about it that way? Why are we postponing the hardest part of our day until after all the shit that's out of our control has hit us in the face? Like your kid gets sick, now you got to take care of them, or someone called into work, now you have to work overtime, you didn't plan on it, you had this very tight schedule in the evening, and you were like, oh, I'm just going to hit snooze, but I can stick to it. I can definitely get all these things done as long as nothing goes wrong. Why are you putting yourself in that position? And then we wonder why we're anxious and stressed. It's because you're constantly thinking about the worst part of your day that you could have taken care of earlier, and you postponed it, and now it's in the back of your mind, while in the front of your mind, you're thinking about your kid, your work, your partner, the food that you got to get, all the chores and things that you have to get done. And then you get all of that done. It's now 9 p.m. You're fucking wiped. And you have to get up for 5 a.m. to do your shift tomorrow because tomorrow is the early shift. Now it's 9 p.m. and now you're like, fuck, I have to get this workout in because I promised Taylor that I did. So reluctantly you go and you do the workout. Nice, good for you. But it was a half-assed workout. You just checked the boxes. You did the workout. You hardly broke a sweat. You're not feeling any sort of tension in the muscle. And afterwards, you feel probably more wired than you did before the workout because now you got all your fucking juices flowing and you're ready to move. Your body's warmed up and ready. You're more alert. This isn't rocket science. I mean, let's go back to the prime. Like, who is more alert and aware and like mentally stimulated and like technically like aroused? Aroused, we always associate that with sexual activity. It doesn't have to be. Aroused just means to be like you're alert, you're aware, you're humming. You are very like in the moment and excited right now. That's what aroused means. So who's more aroused and excited and alert? The person who just finished a workout right now? Like imagine the same like workouts in fighting, physical hand-to-hand combat. They both require physical exertion and energy. Like your body doesn't really know the difference between like lifting weights versus like punching someone in the face. It's still this like massive effort and force production that you're using, right? So who's going to be more like tired, well rested, melatonin is setting in, you're ready for bed? The person who just finished a fight slash did a workout and maybe had some pre-workout before that, or the person who took care of that earlier in the day and let the entire day go through. They took care of all their stuff. Their most excited, hardest part of the day happened first thing in the morning, and then it's just a slow come down until 9 p.m. when you're fucking nodding off and super tired. Who's going to be more productive? Who's getting a better workout? Who's going to be able to stick to it longer? The person who's like getting to bed on time and has a good sleep and getting up early and taking care of business so that they're not stressed about it, thinking about it all day long, and then has a half-ass workout at the end of the day? Or the person who just takes care of business, fucking just get it done. So no longer am I, as your coach, going to say, you know what, just do your workout whenever you feel like. It's all good. I demand, and you should demand of yourself, that you get your workout done at the earliest moment, not the earliest convenience, the earliest possible moment that you can. Because I get it, it's inconvenient to do a workout at 5 a.m. I've had crazy schedules in the past where I had to do my workouts at 4 or 5 in the morning, and I've also had schedules where I've had to do my workout at 11 p.m. at night. And I'll break it down for you for those of you who don't know. Because some of you have heard this before. If Aubrey's still here, she's probably heard this. She's been here for a year and a half, almost 2 years at this point. It's going to be almost 2 years come March. That's exciting. When I had graduated from high school, I had no idea what the fuck I was going to do. I'm 17 years old. I lived with my dad. My parents had split up when I was like 16. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. It was going to be football. Football was the goal. I was like, I'll just work a minimum wage job. And I'm going to train and train and train. And there was, I was in this like semi-pro, technically, the semi-pro league. And so I'm commuting, 45 minutes to practice every single night and doing my workouts and all that kind of stuff. And my plan was really to just work my way through for the next 3 or 4 years, this semi-pro league, and then become, 21, 22 years old. And eventually walk on to like the BC Lions and make the practice roster and, maybe one day elevate myself. By the time I'm now 30 years old, maybe I've elevated myself to the full-time roster or something like that, right? That was kind of the goal. I was like, I just playing football as long as I can and going as far as I can with this. I'm young, I'm fit, I have, the ability to, I believe in myself that I can do this. Get injured, herniated L5-S1, my back is fucked. My doctor says if you get hit right, you could be paralyzed from the waist down for the rest of your life. So at 19 years old, completely lifestyle change, had no idea what I was going to do. And I just started taking on work. I was like, I just need to work. So I was living with my dad. I had experience working with my dad. He owns his own business. He trims dairy cows' hooves, basically drives onto a machine and gives cows pedicures so that they are healthy to go eat and then to milk. If their feet get sore and they get, injuries in their feet, then they won't get up because it hurts their feet. They won't eat. So now they're not producing milk, and then they get sent for slaughter. So my dad is a dairy cow pedicure specialist, and I would basically assist him going on these farms. I did this since I was like 12 years old in the summer times all the time. Now I'm done with school, and I'm not going to university. I did that for a semester and flunked out because I was getting stoned, and I hated it. I was doing it because the girl I was dating at the time insisted that I get an education after high school, whatever. Now I'm working with my dad at 6 in the morning. So I'm getting up at 5 a.m., I would go to work with my dad. Thankfully, the work was like 5-6 hours, so I would be at work with my dad, and it shifted. Sometimes we started at as late as 10 a.m., and sometimes we started at like 6 a.m. So typically it was like 5 a.m. wake up, and then we would work. I'd get up, do my morning routine. It would be work until it would be about 1:45 or 2 p.m., because that'd be enough time for us to rush back home, basically covered in cow shit, right? We got a shower now. And from then at 2:45 p.m., we would coach football together. We went to the local middle school and we coached football for 2 hours. So that's 2:45 until 4:45. I had my lunch packed with me because I had to go straight from, we would take separate vehicles. I'd have to go straight from coaching football to Rona. For any Americans, that's Home Depot, same thing. And I worked at Home Depot, Rona. I worked there from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. in the lumber yard. So I'm hustling around concrete and lumber and shit like that. And then I went to the gym from 9 to 11. And that was my Monday to Friday. Saturday was working 8 hours at the lumber yard and a workout. And Sunday was my most chill day. That was where I just did an 8-hour shift at the lumber yard. No workouts, 6-day-a-week workouts. That's what I did that for 6 months straight. This is after my back injury. And so now my workouts are all fucked up. I can't really push myself very hard. I'm smoking weed every night, but that was my routine. And I did that for 6 months straight until I finally got sick of it and did some other labor job or something like that. Quit with my dad because I couldn't stand him because we were living together and working together and we're both the same guy. My point is that like you need to be intentional with your routine. And if you're not intentional with your routine, you're going to continue to resist the process every single time. And when you're resisting the process and you're thinking about it all day long, getting that workout done and constantly postponing it, and by the time you get it done, if you even do, it's a half-assed workout. You're tired. You feel like you've pushed yourself because you're already tired before the workout even starts, but you're not able to give an actual reasonable enough effort to stimulate change. And then you, day after day after day, are constantly tracking your food at the very end of the day. You're not doing it in advance, or at least doing it as you're cooking it and weighing it out. You can't just measure things out and then put it and then eat it and then put it in MyFitnessPal and pray that you're going to be bang on with your numbers. We have to use a little bit of logic, a little bit of common sense. If I want to get the results that I want, I have to eat within these rules and parameters, which is calories, protein for almost all of us, right? And the only way for me to guarantee that I'm in that is to do it in advance. It's like if you were going to a job interview for the first time and it was like you had no idea where the location was. And you wake up at 6 a.m. or 7 or 8 or 9 a.m. in the morning and you decide at that moment, you're like, well, you have no idea where it is. Like, let's imagine for a second that it could be anywhere in the world. This is where this job interview is. And you have to be in person, okay? Day of the interview, you wake up and you start looking up the address. That doesn't really make any sense, does it? You would probably have planned in advance for where that place is so you could get up at the right time, take a flight if you needed to, right? So why are we tracking our food at the end of the day after already eating it? If you can sense my level of frustration, and again, I'm not looking at you guys right now, so I actually don't even know how many people are on right now. I'm just looking straight at my camera, and I'm on a separate page, actually, because it keeps me from being distracted by looking at myself with my stupid-ass headband. If you are waiting until the end of the day to track your food, and what I was going to say is if you can feel like the frustration in my voice, it's because I think it's so ludicrous to wait to the end of the day to track your food. When I first started tracking at 21 years old, I was like, I want to make sure I'm perfect with this. And I was. Because I started tracking at the moment that I decided to do a bodybuilding competition. So as you can probably imagine, you need to be a little bit more precise doing that than just being lean and having abs and strong and best shape of your life. You can still be in the best shape of your life without being perfect with your food. But to be bodybuilding condition, that's a whole nother level and you have to be perfect with things. So when I got started at 21 years old, I was like, well, obviously I need to, I'm in MyFitnessPal. I'm like, this is a game. This is Tetris. I'm trying to figure out how can I hit my protein, carbs, and fats? And I was like, okay, well, what do I have in the fridge right now? I'm a broke 21-year-old working minimum wage at the gym. I had eggs, I had oats, I had rice, and I had chicken. I didn't even buy vegetables because I was like, vegetables are too expensive. So I had the most basic shit you could imagine. I always had protein powder, oats, eggs, probably had some bread, rice and chicken for sure, maybe cottage cheese. But I would just eat those foods. And I was like, well, I don't want to, if I'm cooking it now, why don't I cook it all? You know, like it was just common sense to me. If I'm cooking chicken now, why don't I just cook it all right now? Because then I don't have to cook it again, right? Why would I only cook half of the flat of chicken? It's just so I can do the same process again. That's not very efficient with my time. Duh. So I just cooked it all at the same time. A lot of people get caught up in negotiating with themselves with the things that they want now versus the things that they want later. I just don't get it. Because sure, I would like to have this meal like perfectly, like I just cooked the rice and I just cooked the chicken and it has, maybe it's breaded or fried or whatever. That's what I would like. I mean, assuming that nothing changes with my physique and I look and feel the same, I'm not shitting my pants, I'm not gaining a bunch of fat, stomach aches, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, why wouldn't I want all the other deep fried, greasy, delicious stuff with extra calories? Duh. But if you want to have a certain look or achieve a certain performance goal, and you know that those things, those quality foods, or waiting until the end of the day to try to magically piece together the calories that you ate because you guessed the whole thing throughout the day, doing that, is that going to get you to where you want to be? No, obviously. So we got to make some sacrifices. One of the sacrifices is going to be simplify your food. You don't have to do what I did when I was 21. Now I have a variety of food and include even fruit. But it shouldn't be complicated, and it shouldn't be done at the very end of the day. This is basic knowledge. I shouldn't have to tell you, and you already know this, especially if you're winning right now. You already know that waiting until the end of the day to do your work or to track your food means you just don't care enough. It's not that important yet. Everything else is more important, and this is just a little side hobby thing that you're kind of hoping it will work out. You're going to try it out and see, but you're not 100% sure. And because you're not 100% sure, you have a lack of certainty, because if you had certainty, if you owned it, if you committed to it, and you were like, I am going to fucking get this result, that's scary. It's scary because if you go all in, you know in the back of your mind, if you go all in and you don't get the result that you want, you're going to be miserable because you tried so hard and it didn't work. So you're operating out of a place of fear all the time with every decision that you make with your health and fitness. It's easier to not really try and fail than to try super, super hard and fail, right? So we just don't try. We just say, well, you tell yourself you're going to try, and you maybe tell other people you're going to try, but you know in the back of your mind, you're like, it's almost easier if it doesn't work out, because if it did, then now I have to be held at that new standard. Because it would be way worse to get into the best shape of your life and 6 months later regain all the weight again. Because everybody sees that, right? That would be way harder, way more painful than just like half-ass trying and not actually getting results, because no one really sees. Like, you maybe lose 10, 20 pounds depending on how big you are, right? But if you don't really get the result, then, and no one really sees the difference, it's easier to just kind of be like, whew, well, that didn't work. And then at that point, well, why didn't it work? Well, not, of course, from a lack of effort. It must be my hormones or my, schedule or my digestion, or I need to do a cleanse. There's so many. That's an easier road, right? And I don't even think that a lot of us are consciously thinking of this. I think that this is something that's been ingrained and built into our being since we were kids, from hearing it from our parents. There's so many people that we either were raised by or lived with, roommates, friends, family members, stories that you hear from other people, movies, whatever, where it's like failure is a constant. And it's easier to be a failure and just kind of stay where we're at rather than go all in on our goals, risk it all for the chance of being your absolute best. Because even if you get to be your best, failing at that point would hurt way more than failing when you haven't even really tried. So I acknowledge that those are all real things. I get it. But you have to bet on yourself, because the alternative is to stay exactly where you're at right now. And although it may not feel as painful right now to stay exactly where you're at as it might in 20 years from now, you have to operate with the understanding that if you don't do anything now, if you don't commit to the change now, then you're guaranteed to have a worse life later. Guaranteed. I'd rather go fucking balls deep in my goals and fail and learn from that and not take it and not allow it to destroy my ego. I'd rather go all in and commit to it than to not try at all and stay exactly where I'm at. And I hope that that helps. I hear my puppy having some dreams. So it's time to go have my 6 eggs and 120 grams of sourdough bread with 150 mil of milk in my coffee. Little side note, look at this. This is a mug. It's my favorite mug, as you can probably imagine, that Angela's mother got made for me after we got engaged. These are engagement photos down on the Oregon coast. 2023. Wow. A few years ago already. And I don't know how she knew this, but that's my favorite photo of us there. Guys, love you all. I think you're amazing. I'm here to help you with all this stuff. I know that sometimes the shit that I say can come down harsh, but it's stuff that you really need to hear. Because if you don't heed these warnings of like going all in on yourself and taking 100% action and committing to the process, even if it means that you're going to fail, then you're going to stay right where you are. You are not incapable of the change. It's not too big for you. You can do this shit. You will do this shit. But you have to own it. You have to say it out loud. This is like, I have these reminders in my face all the time, every single day. And this one here that I have sticky note to my desk says, the voice inside your head that's never satisfied with your achievements, it isn't insecurity. It's the part of you that knows you can do more. And I'm going to leave it there. Have an amazing Monday, everybody. Post your biggest takeaways inside the community. I appreciate you. If you're not a client, you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, then first off, subscribe, drop a follow. I'd appreciate that. That means the world to me. I'd love to be able to grow this channel. I'd love to get your feedback on it. Write a review. Give me a 5 stars. That'd be amazing. And try to help other people, because I know that if you guys here, as my clients are listening to this, and other people who are listening to this regularly are getting value from it, imagine how much more value other people could be getting too. So that would mean a lot. If you're not a client and you are interested and you want to get a little bit more info, then no pressure at all. Just shoot me a message on Instagram. Let me know a little bit about your story and the goals that you have. I'll let you know if I can help you out. Okay. I'm going to finally just read a few of our comments before we go, and then that's it. So April said, yeah, we got April's win. Jasmine, sorry, my other half called me while I was out and I got booted. Here you are back. Victoria says, for the record, I've never felt diminished by you. I've appreciated your support and grace through those hard moments, but also your push of encouragement and these kinds of reminders. You're not an enabler, and I love that. Thank you so much, Victoria. I appreciate that. You're awesome, and yeah, it means a lot. Jasmine has to go. I got to go too, everybody. Peace out. Talk to you later.